Imagine being 16 with your whole life ahead of you. You're smart, kind, and beautiful. You work part-time to help your family. But on one fateful night in September 2008, 4 boys decided your life was worth only 60,000 ringgit. This was the reality for Li Ying Shin, the Kulai school beauty. What started as a simple kidnapping spiraled into one of Malaysia's most notorious crimes. A nation watched in horror as the search for a missing girl turned into a murder investigation. But the story didn't end with a conviction. Years later, a legal decision would reignite the pain and controversy surrounding her death. This is the case of Li Ying Shin. In the quiet town of Kulai, Johor, Li Ying Shin stood out in more ways than one. Known as the Kulai school beauty, she wasn't just admired for her looks. Her kindness, intelligence, and determination made her truly unforgettable. At 16, Li had already built a reputation as a hardworking student with a bright future ahead. When she was born on April 16, 1992, in Kulai, Malaysia, her parents, Lai Ten Song and Chia Sio Pei, were overjoyed to welcome their 3rd child, a precious baby sister to her 2 older sisters and a younger sibling to her little brother. Even as a baby, Lai had a sweet charm that made her stand out. She was the kind of child everyone adored, with a cheerful personality. As she grew up, Lai attended SMK Sultan Ibrahim, one of the top secondary schools in Kulai. Lai excelled in her studies, consistently ranking among the top students. Complex subjects that many struggled with came naturally to her, and her teachers often praised her curiosity and dedication. She had a passion for learning that went beyond just getting good grades. She genuinely enjoyed the challenge. But her talents extended far beyond academics. Lai was an active member of the debate team, where her quick thinking and eloquence won her recognition. She also devoted time to community service, always looking for ways to help those around her. Her classmates remembered her as someone who brought warmth and positivity wherever she went. Her teachers saw her as a rare student, one whose dedication and drive promised great things ahead. Beyond school, Lai had an unwavering commitment to her family. Despite her busy schedule, she took on a part-time job as a salesgirl at a shopping mall when she was just 16 to help support her parents and younger siblings. Not out of necessity, but because she wanted to contribute. Her parents, both hardworking individuals themselves, initially resisted the idea, wanting her to focus on her studies. But Lai was persistent. She understood responsibility and believed in sharing the burden. It was this devotion to her family that led her to the fateful night of September 11th, 2008. As she prepared to leave for her evening shift, there was no sign that anything was out of the ordinary. The streets of Kulai, familiar and bustling as always, were about to become the backdrop for a shocking crime that would grip the nation. That night, 16-year-old Li Ying Shin vanished. She had finished her shift at the mall, but never made it home. Her worried parents tried calling her repeatedly, but their calls went unanswered. Messages were left unread, texts left without a response. As the hours passed, their concern grew into sheer panic. It wasn't like Lai to disappear without a word. She always let them know where she was going, always kept in touch. But that night, there was only silence. The following morning, Lai's family awoke to a day that they would never forget. Later in the day, an unidentified call shattered their hope. The voice, on the other end, wasted no time revealing a horrifying truth. Lai had been kidnapped. The captors demanded 60,000 ringgit for her safe return. It was a father's worst nightmare come true. Their daughter was in the hands of criminals. Desperate, Lai's parents contacted the police, dialing the emergency number with the hope of bringing her home safely. A specialized team of skilled investigators quickly assembled. launching an intense search to follow the trail left by Li's captors. Meanwhile, Li's family scrambled to gather the ransom money. By the following day, they had managed to collect 33,000 ringgit. At 3 a.m. on September 13th, they handed over the amount they had managed to scrape together to the captors. And that was when the police began tracking the phone used by the kidnappers. They worked with telecommunications companies to trace the origin of the calls and monitored any potential activity related to the suspects. The kidnappers made several calls, and through triangulation and cell tower data, the police were able to pinpoint the general area where the calls were being made, leading them to the Kulai Jaya district in Johor. Informants and local contacts familiar with Li's social circles provided valuable leads, helping police identify potential suspects who might be involved. Once the ransom drop was made, police teams covertly monitored the handover site. Though the suspects initially evaded capture after receiving the money, the surveillance efforts paid off. In a well-coordinated operation conducted in the Kulai Jaya area during the early hours of September 15th, authorities apprehended 7 young men between 6:15 and 7 a.m. Not only were the suspects arrested, but the ransom money was recovered. After extensive questioning, 3 of the suspects were found to have no substantial involvement in the kidnapping and were later released. However, 4 individuals were placed under arrest and formally charged. The investigation took a dramatic turn when it was revealed that all the 4 alleged kidnappers were known to Li, having attended the same school. The 4 suspects, 16-year-old Wong Sun Hung, 22-year-old Tae Kim Hong, 17-year-old Lang Sun Long, and 16-year-old Wong Kai Wai, admitted their guilt without hesitation. The suspects were apprehended, but in a heartbreaking revelation, they confessed to the police that Li was no longer alive, shattering the last glimmer of hope her parents had desperately clung to. On September 17th, they led police to a forested area near Taman Puteri Kulai, where they had abandoned Li's body. The scene was beyond tragic. Her body was found in a desolate bush, half decomposed and severely burned. It was a heartbreaking moment for Li's family, as they came face to face with the devastating reality that their beloved daughter was gone forever. An autopsy revealed that Li had been strangled to death before her body was set ablaze, presumably to destroy evidence. According to Li's mother, her daughter had reportedly rejected the romantic advances of one of the suspects. It was speculated that the abduction was fueled by a toxic mix of rejection and revenge. On September 25, 2008, just 2 weeks after Li's disappearance, the 4 suspects were officially charged with kidnapping and murder. The legal proceedings that followed were complex, particularly due to the ages of the suspects. Malaysian law stipulates that minors cannot receive the death penalty, but can be detained indefinitely, a factor that would play a significant role in the eventual sentencing. The 4 individuals accused of murder and kidnapping were brought to trial in Johor High Court in 2010. According to the prosecution, the 4 youths kidnapped Li at around 10 p.m. on September 11, 2008, after she left work. They then strangled her to death and burned her body in a heinous attempt to destroy evidence. It was also revealed that one of the defendants knew Li's parents and had pretended to be shocked and concerned about her disappearance. This individual even visited the grieving family, feigning compassion while manipulating them into paying the ransom by falsely assuring them that Li would be returned safely. During the trial, Justice Mo Zawawi reviewed the evidence and concluded that there was insufficient proof to convict Wong Kai Wai, one of the 4 accused, on the charges of murder and kidnapping. As a result, he was fully acquitted of all charges on November 25, 2010, without the need for a defense. However, the judge found a prima facie case against the remaining 3 defendants, which meant there were sufficient evidence to proceed to trial. On February 21st, 2011, Justice Mozawawi convicted the 3 remaining defendants on both charges. In his ruling, he stressed the gravity of the offenses against Li and the perpetrator's disturbing lack of compassion and remorse. The judge ruled that the maximum punishment allowed by law should be imposed. The sentencing was delivered on March 31st, 2011. Due to their age at the time of the crime, Leung Sun Long and Wong Sun Hung were spared the death penalty, as Malaysian law prohibits capital punishment for individuals under the age of 18. Instead, they were sentenced to indefinite detention at the Sultan of Johor's discretion. But Tek Kim Hong, who was 25 years old at the time of the crime, was sentenced to death by hanging. When Tek Kim Hong was convicted and sentenced to hang for his crimes, he initiated appeals to the higher courts to challenge both the conviction and the severe penalty imposed on him. However, on May 8, 2013 and October 19, 2015, both the Court of Appeal and the Federal Court of Malaysia upheld the original judgment and rejected his appeals. His fate was sealed, finding himself on death row awaiting his execution. The initial sentencing in 2011 seemed to bring closure to the horrific case of Li Ying Shin's murder. But that sense of relief was short-lived. The country abolished the mandatory death penalty, introducing a range of sentencing options for murder cases, including jail terms of 30 to 40 years. This meant all individuals on death row in Malaysia were given the opportunity to appeal for a reduction of their sentences. Having spent 12 years on death row, Te applied for resentencing. During the appeal hearings, Te's lawyer presented a startling argument. He claimed that his client was remorseful and that the murder was not committed with cold-hearted intent. In a chilling statement, the lawyer suggested that Li's death was not prolonged and were merely to destroy evidence. This callous reduction of a young girl's life to mere evidence outraged many who followed the case. But the federal court reviewed Te's case and ultimately decided to replace his death sentence with concurrent 40-year jail terms and 17 strokes of the cane for reasons not disclosed to the public. For Li's family, this decision was a devastating blow. They expressed fears that Te could potentially target them if released, recalling that none of the perpetrators had shown true remorse during the original trial. Reports indicated that they were actively seeking legal avenues to appeal the revised sentence and push for a reinstatement of the death penalty. And for now, this is the aftermath of Li Ying Shin's tragic case. The family continues to grieve the loss of their beloved daughter, taken from them in such a brutal and senseless manner. Li's family and various organizations have become vocal advocates for stricter laws and better support for crime victims. The commutation of Tek Kim Hong's death sentence to 40 years imprisonment has reignited debates over punishments for violent crimes. The case, again, shows us the ongoing challenge of balancing justice, rehabilitation, and public safety, a recurring pattern seen in several similar cases from Malaysia, where sentencing decisions continue to spark nationwide debate. And to wrap up this episode, I just want to say, fly high, Li Ying Shin. Your bright future was cut short for reasons that make no sense, but your story leaves a lasting impact. Stay safe, take care of yourselves and each other, and as always, thank you for watching.